Hey Sam. I hope you're doing well today.
Hi Alex. I'm doing great, thanks. What word are we learning today?
Today, we're diving into the word
relativ,
That sounds interesting. What does it mean?
relativ,
primarily means relative, but it can also mean dependent or comparative. The most common usage is when we describe something as relative to something else.
Are there any false friends I should be aware of?
Yes, definitely. In English, relative can sometimes refer to family members, but in German,
relativ,
doesn't carry that meaning. It's more about comparisons.
Got it. Can you tell me more about the grammar?
Of course,
relativ,
is an adjective, so it doesn't have a plural form. It's gender neutral, which means it can modify masculine, feminine, or neuter nouns. For example, you could say,
ein relativer Begriff,
for a relative concept,
eine relative Größe,
for a relative size, and
ein relatives Verhältnis,
for a relative relationship.
That's helpful. What about its usage in different tenses?
Since it's an adjective, it doesn't have tenses like verbs do. But we can look at related verbs like
relativieren,
which means to relativize. In the present tense, you would say,
ich relativiere, du relativierst,
and
sie es relativiert.
in the past tense, it would be,
Ich relativierte,
and in the perfect, you say,
ich habe relativiert.
That's interesting. Where does the word
relativ,
come from?
Relativ,
comes from the Latin word,
relativus,
which means relating to or referring to. It has been used in German since the 19th century, mainly in philosophical contexts.
Wow, that's really cool.
Now, let's break it down a bit. The prefix has been borrowed from Latin, where
rel,
means to relate or refer. The root
ativ,
implies a quality or state. Together, they form a word that describes the quality of being related.
So it's like putting pieces together.
Exactly. Think of it as assembling Lego blocks. Plus, since it's an adjective, it can modify many different nouns, so it's quite versatile.
Can you give me some similar words?
Sure. Here are a few examples. First, we have
relativieren,
which we already discussed, meaning to relativize. Next is,
Relativität.
which means relativity. Then there's,
Relativer.
and,
Relative.
which are comparative forms.
What else?
There's also,
Absolut.
meaning absolute, which is the opposite of.
Relativ.
Then we have,
Verhältnis.
which means relationship, and vergleich, meaning comparison.
That's a lot of words.
Yes. And don't forget,
Verhältnis.
is also important. It relates to,
Relativ.
because they both deal with relationships and comparisons.
Can we practice using
relativ,
in sentences?
Absolutely. Let's imagine you're discussing a relative idea at work. You could start with,
Das ist ein relativ neues Konzept.
which means this is a relatively new concept.
Okay, I'll try.
das ist ein relativ interessanter Artikel.
Great try. Just remember, it's
Interessanter.
not,
Interessante.
since you're using the masculine form.
Got it. What's another situation?
Let's say you're talking about sizes in a store. You could say,
Diese Größe ist relativ klein.
meaning the size is relatively small.
I can say,
Diese Größe ist relativ teuer.
Exactly. That's perfect.
are there any hints for remembering the gender?
Since
Relativ.
is an adjective, it doesn't have a specific gender. But remember, when you use it with nouns, like,
Begriff.
which is masculine, you can think of it as the concept being relative.
That helps. What about usage notes?
Relativ.
Is generally neutral and can be used in both formal and informal contexts. Some typical phrases are
Relativ schnell.
meaning relatively fast, or
Relativ einfach.
meaning relatively simple. Just be careful not to confuse it with,
Absolut.
as they mean opposite things.
Can you give me some example sentences?
Sure. Here are a few. First,
Das Wetter ist relativ mild heute.
which means the weather is relatively mild today.
That's nice.
Then there's,
In relativ kurzer Zeit haben wir viel erreicht.
meaning in relatively short time, we have achieved a lot.
I like that one.
And one more.
Die Preise sind relativ hoch.
Which means the prices are relatively high.
This is fun to say.
Now, let's do a quick recall check. What does
Relativ.
mean?
It means relative.
Great. Can you give me the present tense of?
Relativieren.
It's
Ich relativiere. Du relativierst.
and
Er relativiert.
Perfect. What's a common context to use?
Relativ.
I think in work discussions or when comparing things.
Exactly. Can you give me a sentence with?
Relativ.
Das ist ein relativ gutes Buch.
Very nice. Lastly, what's the opposite of?
Relativ.
It's
Absolut.
Well done, Sam. So, to summarize,
Relativ.
means relative or comparative, and it's an adjective that can modify many nouns.
Thanks, Alex. I really enjoyed this lesson.
I'm glad to hear that. Keep practicing, and you'll get even better.